Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another episode of the Game Changer podcast. All of these episodes down here in Florida are going to be really special because they're handpicked to focus on game changers, people that I think that we can learn from, that I can learn from myself. One of my great friends here, this is Ruben on social media. You can find him Physical Freedom, but I think that he's a game changer because of a few reasons. The experiences that he's gone through in life, the changes that he's been able to make in his life, and then his ability to help others. Ruben, you're an ATG level 2 coach. Level 3 coach, amazing. Another ATG level 3 coach. I love to hear that. You help athletes, you help regular people, and you certainly are helping yourself. The definition of a game changer for what we do in Virus Athletics is someone that is willing to go outside the realm of normalcy to achieve their individual goals or to achieve individual greatness, whatever that is for you. You weren't always a game changer. I want to go back to that moment where you feel like you weren't a game changer, where you might feel like you were lazy or a bum. That's kind of what I say about myself before I was. And I want to know what made you flip the switch to make these amazing changes in your life.
Yeah. I think if you're going to be a game changer at all nowadays, you have to go above normalcy, because normal right now, I mean, if you're going to change the game, everybody's kind of playing the same game, right? We're fat, we're lazy, we're not really active. A lot of people are sick in today's society. That stuff's normal. If you want to be a game changer, you have to do things outside of what's considered normal, outside of sometimes what the FDA recommends or what is normally considered healthy in textbooks, right? And so I found a lot about that, just seeking my own truth, realizing that I wasn't where I wanted to be. But I guess like the biggest part where I will flip the switch for me, we'd have to go back to when I was like 22, 23. Okay. I was 300 pounds. I was depressed. Was dropping out of college because I was partying all the time, right? Like I had a 4.0 first 2 years of college. I joined a fraternity. This was all my fault, by the way. It's just how it happened. Joined a fraternity, started partying. Got to the point where I was drinking so much, I was too tired to go to class like the next day. Mm-hmm. Like I wasn't sleeping. I was eating Burger King, like drive-through food every other day. Like a bunch of like 2 for $6 deals, McDonald's, 4 for $4 in Wendy's. Like I knew every single one of these. I wasn't doing much with my life because, and part of it looking back was the food I was eating, my daily habits, not getting sleep, just wanting to take this constant road of pleasure, of escapism. What I realize now is escapism, trying to get away from my reality. I was hiding the fact that I dropped out from college from my mom. I was a nursing major, and I ended up failing pharmacology, ironically enough. We can get into why later that on. But I failed pharmacology, had to wait a whole another year, and had to get into business. So I was in business school, and I just wasn't happy. Like I was like, I don't know what I'm doing in my life. It was really, really, looking back, it was a sad time in my life. If you look at me back then, I was always pretending to be happy. I was always like the guy who you wanted to be around at parties. I was always that guy that were like, yeah, feed him shots. I have videos of me, and I can send you this one where I was just like I would get home from working as a bartender, and the party was already going on because I would get off late, and I would be like, all right, I need to catch up. Give me 6 shots, and just back to back to back to back, 6 shots in a row. And that's the type of person I was. I was just living to escape reality. And really the thing that flipped the switch for me was like realizing I was in terrible health. And okay, so this is a little personal, but I was like really into dating different women and stuff back then. And I literally could not get it up from from the alcohol, from how poor my health was. And that was really like one of the rock bottoms for me. Was like, wow, my health is so bad that I can't do something that's my normal function, right? And as you and I know, like your sexual health, your vitality when it comes to those things also represents a lot of your life force and like some of the things you can do creatively. So just realizing that was like, wow, I can't even, like this is a problem. Like I'm 23, 22 at the time actually, and this shouldn't happen to me until I'm like 60 or 70. Yeah. So like something's wrong somewhere. And when I went to the doctor, they were just trying to give me the blue pill, like Viagra. I was like, okay, there's got to be like an actual solution to this. I can't just be taking pills. So I started just doing research on health, and I realized everything that I was doing was causing my poor health. So I took ownership and I started changing my habits. I started with eating better. Once I started cooking for myself, I kind of started having more energy, so that I could start thinking more clearly. And in continuation of educating myself, I started strength training, right? That led to getting back into martial arts, which is something I did in high school that had me in good shape and good discipline. That led to having that 4.0 until sophomore year. And yeah, it just started like little by little, just snowballing and getting back into health. A lot of it really, when it really snowballed was like I started solving problems for myself, right? I started having injuries from strength training and doing martial arts, and I didn't quite know exactly what I was doing. I was doing like a bro split, right? Training like a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And that left a lot of missing things in my ability to prevent injury. So I started doing more research on that, and that's kind of how I came across ATG, knees over toes guy. I was running to get in shape for a Muay Thai fight. And all during this time, I went from like 300 pounds to like 180.
Wow.
Like just out of like pure like grit, like strength training and Muay Thai. And I was trying to get in shape for a fight, but I was having like a lot of knee pain. So just looking up stuff on the internet, it was just telling me to like rest, ice elevate, stop doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not gonna happen. Like I'm committed to doing this fight. I'm committing to like improving and getting stronger. So like let me find other things. And Ben's page came across, and he's doing like reverse Nordic, sissy squats, like all those things. And I'm like, that would destroy my knees. Let me see how he's doing this, because this guy claims to have had 3 knee surgeries and now he's dunking. So like maybe there's something to that.
Yeah.
So just like seeing those results and that opened up a whole bunch of other rabbit holes in health that I've been going down, and we can talk more about those. But that was kind of like what really propelled me into like, okay, I can be a personal trainer because I've gone through all this myself, and I've had success in getting out, losing the weight, finding a way to discipline when I'm not drinking alcohol anymore, where I'm eating my own the foods that I cook, and I'm doing martial arts consistently. And then also now it's like, oh, I'm fixing my own injuries. Like other people need to learn some of the things I've been through. And they started asking, like I didn't even force it up on anybody. People just like my teammates started asking me like, hey, what are you doing for your strength training? Like you're way more athletic. I don't see you constantly getting injured anymore. Like what are you doing? So I started teaching other people. And it just naturally came. Like first it was my side job for a few years, like 2 years, just training people out of my garage. And then I took the leap of faith, and I ended up going from my office job that I was working at the time. I skipped a few things, but I ended up graduating with associates in business, got worked up in a company all the way to where I was like assistant administrator. I ended up quitting that job and just going full-time personal training.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So first off, unbelievable story. There's so many parts that, I mean, this could be a 2-hour long podcast because I'd love to break down every aspect of that. But even in my own experience, it might seem from the outside in that like I have my stuff together. I've got this and I've got that I've always been a game changer, but I'll be the first one to tell you that was not always the case. And I remember that rock bottom moment for me. And I remember like legitimately I was just staring at myself in the mirror, looking at myself, thinking about what I was doing in my life, and literally hit so hard, so deep in me that it brought me to tears. That was my rock bottom moment that forced me to flip the switch. For you to talk about that moment where you're at the doctor and they're giving you the blue pill, it's kind of a funny story.
I took
now,
the red pill instead.
Yeah, you took the red pill, but it's a funny story now. But it's amazing to see how like weird things like that can flip that switch. It's almost like a traumatic type experience where like you came to that realization. So there's so many pieces within that. And honestly, you covered a lot of the questions in there of like, you weren't always a game changer. You're a game changer now. And I wanted to find out what type of things that you were doing to become a game changer. And you covered so many things in there. One thing that I really admire about you, and I think I knew this about you before this, but hearing you talk about it, it's very clear to me. You're not afraid or ashamed to be extremely real with yourself.
No, dude.
Where does that come from? How are you so comfortable being honest, even if you're making mistakes or doing things that might not be like the best thing? Why are you okay and comfortable to be that real with yourself? Where it's not like you're talking so badly on yourself, but like you're just being real, right? Where does that come from?
I don't know, man. That's a great question. I think once you're on the other side of shame and like you've when you're so low, depression, like all these other emotions that you're going through, it's like you try to hide all these things from everybody else and you internalize everything into yourself. And then as you get out of that, you start realizing that actually sharing this with other people can help you. It can help keep you accountable, like sharing your goals with other people, saying like, hey, I've been through this is where I want to go. They might laugh at you, but then you can just use that negative energy, turn into positive energy and fuel your own goals.
Yeah.
Or they might actually have something positive to say that can actually help you.
Right.
If somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, I've been through this, I'm like, bro, I've been through it too. Here's something I did. Maybe this can help you.
Yeah.
It's only going to be a positive thing, So it's kind of like realizing that that we're all connected in some way and that we've all had these experiences and that you can learn from other people's mistakes. And you're never going to find out if they've been through that unless you share it with others. That's kind of like where that comes from for me. It's like communicating with others.
We filmed a podcast with Riley earlier today, and one of the things that he said throughout the podcast was how he was suppressing so much in life, and one of the things that helped him flip the switch was embracing. And I can feel that same exact thing as you're sitting here talking to me, where before, when you weren't a game changer, when you're going through all these things, right, you're suppressing a lot of your problems, you're suppressing a lot of the adversity, the hardships in your life with things outside of it, right? Escapism, alcohol, lust, gluttony, those types of things. And that switch happened where instead of escaping, you embrace them, which I think is so powerful, because as a kid in today's world, or even someone more like my age, or even for yourself, people that are like your age, escapism is so common,
right?
And I think learning about it and understanding what that looks like is really important to help people get out of that. So I think that's a great message for people that are actually listening to this, to see, hey, maybe I am kind of guilty of that in my own life, and I think that's really cool.
Acceptance is the first step, right? Like once you can accept something, you can take ownership for it and you can actually do something about it. Until then, you're just like suppressing it, and there's not really anything good that comes out of it. You just internalize it within yourself, and then it builds up until you express it as a different emotion, like rage or other things. And it's like you don't want that.
Okay, so another thing that I'm hearing from you a lot within this is your ability to find information and to find truth. Right? This can be a really quick thing, right? This is not like a deep question on how you find truth, but I want to know about how you find information and truth out there, right? Because you didn't know a lot of this stuff before. Like you said, like it's going against the norm of like the FDA sometimes, right? What are some of the resources that you use to find truth about information out there? How do you find that? Like, is it browsing the internet? Is it using a different browser? Is it going on a specific type of platform? Do you follow specific people? How do you find truth?
One thing that really stuck with me from one of my mentors was saying, don't take someone's advice unless they have the results that you want to achieve. Right. So seeing like Ben being able to do those things, it's like, okay, I want that for myself. Like I want to be able to do these things so I can kind of follow his advice. Has he replicated these results with other people? Right. So results is like the biggest thing when it comes to any of these things. Like you can give me all the studies in the world and I'm still going to question it until I see somebody actually being able to replicate what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. That comes with any sensei or teachings, like anybody who does this. Like, let's say you're a martial arts instructor and you're telling me like, I learned from all these people. I'm like, okay, great. But who are your pupils? Like how many world champions have you taught? It's like, that's what really drives it. It's like the results. Like, how are your teachings actually giving people results in reality, in the real world?
Yeah. And like, there's so many ways to find information. It doesn't always have to be about health. It could be about events that are happening in the world or history or whatever, right? Because there's so many ways that we can have misinformation out there. So I think it's really cool that you are able to find truth.
And intuition is so underrated. Like we don't follow our own intuition. I think a lot of that is like, and we could get into this on a whole nother podcast. A lot of it has been like spiritual development, just through like meditation. There's a bunch of other practices I train, but it's just like expanding your awareness will help you to better understand truth and to be more in touch with that. And awareness, not just of like the world itself, but of your own intuition and the feelings that you have inside. Right.
Yeah. Very cool. That's something that I continue to try to be better at. Like, because if you just like go to all the mainstream sources, a lot of times you're actually not going to be finding truth.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes a hard thing to accomplish is finding truth. You seem to me very motivated.
Question everything, dude.
Question everything. I love that. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
You seem to be extremely motivated. Do you get your motivation from internal factors? Do you get your motivation from external factors? What lights that fire and stokes that fire inside of you to want to help people, to want to better yourself? Where does that motivation come from?
When it comes to like my own business of helping people, improve their physical freedom, I think the motivation comes from just my personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is very intrinsic in that sense. A lot of it comes from my connection to God. But I always think back to this moment where like when I was trying to get in shape, I would go out and play football with my friends. Like there's all these activities, outdoors things that I wanted to do. But one thing was just playing football, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would take off, like, I remember this happened like 2 or 3 times. And this was when I was like, all right, I got to figure something out. I would take off for a sprint and like just pull my back,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I couldn't, like I would just be like, oh, like the rest of the game, I would be like, all right, I got to sit out. And for like a month or 2, I would just walk around crooked. Like I didn't no clue what was going on. I went and got checked out, and they were like, "You have a slip disc." And I was like, "Okay, well, what do I do?" And just like, don't do anything, just rest it. And it just felt like being confined within my body. Like it felt like I couldn't like express myself physically. Like I couldn't run, be active, do all these things that make you feel good. That made me feel good when I was younger. And just realizing that like I felt like a slave within my own body, and that's kind of where like the concept of physical freedom came. In my head, it actually came from listening to other people talk about this concept. But then that's when it clicked. It was like, oh, I want to be able to do what I want when I want. Like if I want to try learning a new different skill or trick, like I want to be able to do that. I got to fix my body to the point where I can do that. And now I have the tools to do that through ATG, through some of the other methods I've learned. And it's like now I want to bring that to other people because I find it so important. If you can express yourself freely in your body, that frees up your mind, it frees up your brain a lot more, because movement is 80% of what our brain is designed for, right? Or something like 75% of what our brain was designed for was actually movement. So if you can't move freely in your body because you're afraid of pain, you're afraid of hurting yourself, then you're going to lose your brain matter. Let's be honest. You're not going to be as bright during the day. You're going to have kind of like a brain fog. And these are all things I experienced when I was trying to do my weight loss journey. Is the more sedentary, the more afraid of moving and of just being free myself that I was, the more I would end up being depressed and like wouldn't be able to like express myself while talking to others. And yeah, just so many things like that were negative because of that. So it's almost like finding more freedom in your body gives you more freedom in your mind, more freedom of thought, more freedom to express yourself, to have emotions, because there's so many things. The way our body works, like there's so many things that movement is related to, and one of them is just feeling good, right? Like there's tons of studies out there that show that mental health is directly correlated to physical health. Mm-hmm. And how do you get more physical health? You become more resilient. How do you get more resilient? You strength train, you move, you dance, you do whatever the things are that bring you joy, that put you in a flow state, that allow endorphins to flow in your body, that allow you to feel good with all these things. And so yeah, it's like motivation comes from like that old me that was just like fragile and kept getting hurt doing things that I considered fun, and I couldn't do them. It's like I don't want that for anybody. Like I want to help people do what they love without pain.
Yeah, I can just like the visual that I'm getting in my head right now when you're talking about the old me is like a version of you that's just like stuck in a cage, and now you aren't stuck in a cage. You went out and speed trained with us yesterday. We're out throwing the ball around. You're out playing basketball, right? And I feel like that in my own life, people are probably like very confused on why I'm always like playing different sports, even though like I'm a basketball guy. Like why are you trying to get good at skiing? Why are you trying to get really fast? Why are you trying to go throw a baseball really hard? Why are you trying to, do all of these things? And I feel in a very similar situation where it's like the more that I do these things, the more fun that I have, the more joy that I have, and the more life lessons I've learned. One of the biggest things I picked up from skiing is how to overcome fear. if I never had that experience, I never would have had that realization of the fear that I feel in myself and how I need to overcome that, right? So like you're saying, not only is it great for your physical health, but a lot of times you can learn a lot about yourself through
Yeah.
those physical things, whether it's a sport or an activity or a hobby. I think that's awesome.
Dude, yeah, if you want to overcome fear, get into martial arts. Like if you want, I'm serious.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
or any sport, honestly. It can,
Yeah.
movement is a vehicle for spiritual and mental development as well.
Mhm.
You know, it's all connected, right? Like if
Mhm.
you could say the same thing about the others, but if you want to get over fear, do something hard that takes preparation, because then you'll realize the way, right? The way you'll start seeing the way in everything. If you're afraid of something, start doing it at a level that doesn't hurt, that doesn't cause you harm, and then increase to the point where you can do it at a level that's like risky.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's how you get over fear and things like that. That's how you conquer the limbic brain, the dragon that's inside, and you what does Joe Rogan say? Conquer your inner bitch or something like that. Yeah.
No, dude, I remember like the first time I went skiing, we're on this big mountain and my buddies are all really good. And we're at the top of the mountain, we're about to go over the edge. And I'm literally looking over the edge and you can see the bottom of the mountain. It's like 4,000 feet down.
Wow.
And I legitimately will never forget the feeling that I have. Like I'm almost kind of recreating that feeling right now talking about it, of like the immense fear, the tension in my stomach, like legit my legs almost shaking, you know? And I'll never forget that feeling. And then kind of like you said, like, I had to make it down the mountain, but it was little by little.
Yeah.
It was having a plan as I'm going down the mountain. It was remembering the things that I'm doing, right? And like all these like little micro lessons throughout the way that helped me overcome that fear. Different story for a different time.
Yeah.
Health is really impactful for you. I can tell it's really important for you. Outside of movement, ATG, these physical things, what other things are you doing for your health? That, like, again, I don't want to touch on like anything workout related here. I want to touch on maybe supplements or food or like breathing or meditation. Like, what other things are you doing to elevate your mental, spiritual, which then is also helping your physical health?
That's a great question. There's a lot that I do. I probably wouldn't recommend everything for everybody, because you got to implement little things at once.
Yeah.
And I just kind of picked these up through the process of like 7 years of trying to
pursue.
Yeah, trying to get healthier.
Yeah.
So I guess where do we start on this?
The
first thing I did was cooking.
Okay.
Right, like cooking for myself instead of going out to eat consistently. The biggest thing I think that helps with is taking ownership over what you're putting into your body, right? Because then you can control the quality of the ingredients, the types of food that are going in.
Yeah.
If you go out to eat, like, you don't even know what they're cooking, what oils they're cooking in, what the quality of the meat, of the bread, of the vegetables that you're eating. So it's just like being able to control that gives you a lot more ownership over your body, and then you can choose whether or not to actually eat foods that are going to be better for your goals. You know, like if you want to be an athlete, eating whole foods is like almost a non-negotiable in my opinion. And you might say, like, you know, like there's certain athletes that eat like trash and they're still great, but I mean, they probably have better genetics or something like that, or just are able to digest it better. But if you want to improve 1% every year, it's like you are what you're made of. Like this energy that these molecules you're putting into your body, like a lot of that is what goes into that, the energy that fuels your body, your cells, the way you think, your thoughts even. So like food is
What's after food?
You're
gonna. I just want to keep it. I want to keep you moving.
Sleep.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you improve your sleep?
Number one is consistency. Like go to bed at a consistent time. Wake up at a consistent time to get your body in that circadian rhythm. Number two, lights. Like I dim the lights at night. This is because like you're signaling to your body that like you are awake. The sun is up.
Yeah.
If you have bright lights, overhead lights. So try to get lamps. That helps a lot. I wear blue light blockers. I mean, that's like something you don't have to do. I'll watch the sunset and the sunrise.
Cool.
Anytime I can. It helps regulate your circadian rhythm. Cooling the house at night is a big thing for me, like temperature wise. Not eating right before bed too is like the biggest one.
Cool. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm just gonna keep pushing you. It's like a lightning round right now.
Let's go.
After sleep next.
Meditation. That's gonna help your sleep, your digestion. you're expanding your awareness, finding truth. That helps the most for me. I think it's something because we have so much, like we have our phones, I got my computers right here. I got talking to you. I got overly stimulated all the time, and this kind of helps to kind of like bring down the nervous system and helps you recover better. There's huge benefits to meditation. It's not a wonder that so many successful people and athletes tell you to do that.
Next,
other than that,
give me some supplements.
Yeah, biggest things for supplements for me are magnesium, right?
Okay.
Like we're super deficient in it. We're not getting enough in our soil. Magnesium glycinate, magnesium L-threonate, and malate are the three that I take.
Okay.
L-threonate is the only one that crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it helps you sleep better. So I do that one. Glycine for better sleep, helps you cool down your body at night. It's an amino acid that also helps you recover a lot. Taurine as well,
Okay.
very similar reasons. Creatine, I think there's plenty of literature around that one. Vitamin D3 and K2, they go hand in hand. And even though I get sunlight all the time, I'm still not getting enough vitamin D3. And then what other stuff? I take methylene blue. It helps improve your mitochondrial ability to produce energy. There's definitely a lot of research back and forth on that. I think we talked about it last night. What else do I take? I take Lactobacillus salivarius. It's a probiotic, and it helps you just digest the minerals and vitamins in meat better.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Next, talk to me about products for your hygiene, whether it's toothpaste, skincare, sunscreen. Talk to me about products for your hygiene.
Yeah, biggest thing on that is just avoid toxins, right? There's a lot, like if you're using Dove, I'm sorry to tell you, but it's not just soap that's in there. I prefer using for my skincare, I like Health and Soul tallow soap. It's basically like, hey, the rule for me on that is if you can't eat it, why are you putting it on your skin's absorbing so much of what you put on your body. So tallow and coconut oil is what that one's made of. It's got a few other ingredients in there, but not a huge long list like most other soaps. So that's what I use for my hair. I use eggs.
Really?
Like I just do like egg wash and I put that on, and that's my shampoo most of the time.
Wow.
I'll use a little bit of baking soda and apple cider vinegar like once a week, and that kind of washes it out. And then I put coconut oil in there every 3 or so days.
And by the way, sick hair.
Thanks, bro. Looks all right. Let's see. Other than that, like toothpaste. I use
anti-fluoride,
non-fluoride toothpaste. I can't remember the brand because Tiffany buys it. And I use a tongue scraper as well because I don't do mouthwash because mouthwash has alcohol in it. It stops your gains and all kinds of other shit.
Yeah.
And then I do oil pull in with coconut oil as well.
Okay.
Once a week.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's like pretty much everything on that. I'm trying to think of maybe some others I could throw in.
I mean, I shave with tallow soap and coconut oil as well, like instead of Barbicide or
Barbasol or whatever.
Yeah, and I missed a spot over here, so y'all probably like, what the fuck?
Very cool. Very cool. Very quickly to finish this off, this is the last thing I want to talk about here.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about HRV, and I'm kind of on this pursuit of elevating my HRV.
Yeah.
You told me that your HRV a lot of times is above 90, a lot of times even above 100, which is obviously considerably higher than mine. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? I know you talk about like the products, the supplements that you might take, the sleep. Like, what do you think contributes to your HRV being at such an elevated level?
What contributes the most probably sleep consistency.
Okay.
That's the number one thing. Other than that, probably I do a lot of breath work. I wanted to touch up on this earlier, but I don't think we had time. But breath work, like improving your body's ability to like breathe efficiently, is huge, especially with breathing with your diaphragm is huge for like how well you recover, how well you sleep. And like overall your cardiorespiratory health, which has a lot to do with heart rate variability, right?
Yeah.
HRV. So I would say those are the two biggest factors that separate me from other people. Like I keep my resting heart rate pretty low. I don't do a ton of cardio, except for like sprints once a week or basketball, or hitting the bag. I guess I do a good bit of cardio, but yeah, breath work and sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. This has been really good. So much information. I hope that someone can like get through this and take a lot of notes on like some of the things that you're talking about. The reason I'm asking you these questions, the reason that, I continue to reach out to you is because I know you're finding truth. I know you're going outside of the realm of normalcy to elevate yourself. And I want to learn some of the lessons that you're learning along the way, because like I said, I've seen the growth in you. Every time I come back down here, you're a little more fit, you're a little more cut, your voice, the things that you talk about, is maybe a little bit more like, I don't know if the right word is like educated or just like comfortable. You know, like I said, you're not ashamed of, you don't have a lot of guilt. You know, I think you operate a lot in gratitude and love, and those are the people that I want to have connections with and be
100%.
around. I would encourage anyone else to find Ruben on social media and ask him questions. You know, obviously he's a great trainer. He's a level 3 ATG coach, but maybe ask him about some of these things, why you might be doing it and how it can help you. It's a great thing that, like I said, I'm going to continue to do, to reach out to him and to continue to keep learning. You're a great friend. You have a great story, and you definitely embody what it means to be a game changer. This has been a great episode. I'm excited to continue to keep building our relationship, continue to keep doing more of these, and continuing to keep challenging and bettering ourselves together. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.